Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining today's webinar, which is entitled Graduates of Today, Leaders of Tomorrow in collaboration with Target Jobs. So we've got an absolutely jam-packed hour for you, so we'll make a start initially with some brief introductions. So in the virtual room today, we've got myself and Jess from the recruitment team here at Aldi, and we're also joined by Harry and Jake, who are current Aldi area managers within the business. So we'll do a brief introduction to ourselves, but we'll kind of get to know you and let you get to know us a lot more throughout the webinar as well. So in terms of myself, so I've been with Aldi now just coming up to 3 months, so still relatively new within the business. I work alongside Jess on the area manager and placement recruitment team. But yeah, I've worked with Aldi now for probably the past 8 years throughout my career, so I've always been really, really passionate about the business. So yeah, it's a little bit about me. Jess?
Hello. So yeah, like Emily said, I'm a part of the area manager and placement recruitment team as well. I have been here slightly longer than Emily. So I started back in March. So coming up to 8 months now with Aldi. It does feel like I've been here forever though, I can't lie. But no, really enjoying my time with the team so far. And I'll hand over to Harry, if that's all right, to introduce himself.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks, guys. As the guys said, my name's Harry. I have been an area manager with Aldi for about 3.5 years. Previously to that, I was also a placement student, so I've had the joy of doing both of these great schemes. So in total, just over 4.5 years with the company. And yeah, it definitely feels like I've been here 5 minutes, the same as you guys before, but obviously it's a slight bit longer. And I'll pass it over to Jake.
Hello everyone, yes I'm Jake. Similar to Harry, I also was a placement student before joining as an area manager, so I've been with Aldi for just over 2 years now, so 3 years total tenure with the business.
Fabulous, thank you for that, guys. So yeah, look, I'll get straight to it. So essentially within the Aldi recruitment team here, so what myself and Jess do is we manage the end-to-end process of every single application that we receive for all graduate and all career changer area management and placement roles across Great Britain. So our recruitment teams are based within Atherstone head office and also our Bolton regional office as well, where we focus on essentially all elements of the employee life cycle, which covers attraction, training, career progression, health, and also wellbeing and benefits for all of our 40,000 colleagues that work here. So during the next hour, I guess what we're aiming to give to you is we'll provide you with a really good overview of Aldi, our graduate opportunities, and what makes us an award-winning graduate employer as well. So we'll even give you some insider information and some tips on how to apply throughout the process, and also what to expect during your recruitment process as well. So what we'll do at the end is we'll have a bit of a Q&A session. So please do feel free to drop any questions as you're going along in the chat, because we understand, there's lots to consider when you're applying for a graduate role. Some of you may have already been through a recruitment process before. So yeah, absolutely, this is your opportunity to ask any questions that you may have for us. So as I say, you can either drop any questions in the chat function at any point throughout the call, and then we'll open the floor up at the end and answer all those questions for you. Okay. So, why join Team Aldi on our graduates program? So that's what we've got to touch on first. So many reasons, I guess, why Aldi means more. So first of all, if you know anything about Aldi, you'll know that Aldi is one of Britain's fastest growing supermarkets, with over 1,000 stores and 40,000 colleagues in total. So our supermarket believes in making every day amazing and delivering the best possible value for millions of families throughout the UK and Ireland. So at Aldi, we know that our success has only been possible thanks to our amazing colleagues, which is why our staff benefits span across discounts, things like gym memberships, cinema tickets and holidays, as well as, of course, fantastic salaries, well-being perks and secondment opportunities as well. So, we understand that amazing doesn't happen overnight, and this is why we're making changes to be greener, fairer, and healthier every day, from sourcing sustainable produce, reducing our plastic and packaging waste, and working with amazing charities such as our partnership with the Teenage Cancer Trust, and also our partnership with Team GB as well. So, we aim to ensure that we're constantly working to make these changes every single day. So hopefully our credentials do speak for themselves, and we're really, really proud to have been awarded Employer of the Year at the Grocer Gold Retail Awards for the second year running now, and both Workplace Game Changer and Best Retailer over 500 million awards for the Retail Gazette as well. And we've also been consistently placed in the Times Top 100 Graduate Employers as well. So what I want to touch on now is what we're essentially looking for from you and what you'll need to apply for the Graduate Area Manager Programme. So essentially you'll need to be working towards a 2-1 degree in any discipline, have 96 UCAS points or 63 Scottish Highers or equivalent from your top 3 A levels or international qualifications as well, hold a full UK driver's licence, have the right to work in the UK, essentially be ready to take on any challenge, as we are looking for individuals who use their initiative, who always strive for smarter and simpler ways of doing things. Because if you know Aldi, you'll know we are an efficiency and cost saving business, and we're always looking for ways in which to improve our efficiencies. So I guess I'll touch on what an average day looks like for an area manager. Well, I guess the simple answer is, and I'm sure Harry and Jake can vouch for this, is there isn't a typical day. Now, your days and weeks will vary, to include visiting stores, meeting with your store teams, reviewing KPIs and ensuring your teams essentially are fully supported. So some of your key responsibilities as an area manager will be to maximise sales through checking store availability and merchandising, developing in-store teams and holding weekly updates with your store managers to coach and develop them as people managers as well. Life at Aldi is fast-paced, so you need to be able to think on your feet, use your initiative, and manage and continually improve the stores on your region as well. So you'll be that real role model for store employees, and he'll be able to develop a culture of professionalism and pride in Aldi, ensuring that store teams really kind of adapt that culture of ownership as well. So, you'll ensure our store environments offer customers that everyday amazing experience, and you'll constantly seek ways to minimise costs, improve efficiencies, and grow your area's sales. So, of course, we do provide you with lots of training to help you succeed in your role, and you'll complete our year-long training programme where you'll experience store life, you'll be rolling up your sleeves, getting stuck in, working on the shop floor, and getting a really in-depth understanding of how those stores operate. You'll be having lots and lots of support in your role as well from your store operations director, your experienced area manager mentor, and also your area manager colleagues who sit within your region as well. Okay, fantastic. So touched on, I guess, what we're looking for from you. So now I'll talk to a little bit about what we can offer you and why join our Graduate Area Manager Programme. Well, I guess first of all, the responsibility and the exposure, the training, of course, the salary, and the car. But absolutely top of your list should be really that opportunity to get involved, give more, and get even more back. So as you'll see from a couple of the images there on your screen, we offer a really rewarding and varied benefits package, from health and lifestyle plans and savings, training and support, well-being at work and 24/7 access to support as well, and various opportunities to travel. So look, Aldi really, really values the colleagues. So we've listened to our area managers and appreciate, what they do for our business, which is actually why we've reduced our contracted working hours from 50 hours down to 45 hours and increased the starting salary from 44,000 up to 50,000 pounds as a starting salary. So we're now going to play a clip where you can hear directly from some of our graduate area manager colleagues within the business.
What makes makes Aldi different is how much responsibility they give to each and every one of us in the business, and with that comes a lot of trust.
3 months into your training, you could be running the store on your own, responsible for ordering all the stock, making sure the staff are happy.
Aldi really believes that young people can do great things.
It's definitely something that excited me and attracted me to the role.
I felt really supported at Aldi. From day one, you're paired up with your mentor, who is with you throughout your whole journey.
You develop a really strong network with your peers, you can always pick up the phone to them.
But you all work part of a team towards the common goal.
I really valued my time in store because I think it's a really important part of you learning the practical day-to-day of the store operations.
It was actually really exciting and I really enjoyed it.
It's a change every single day, and that variety really attracted me to the role.
The final review for me was a moment where I gained real confidence because I realised how far I'd come over the last year.
But when you're looking at managerial experience and trying to get that straight away, there was nothing better than the Aldi grad scheme.
I was completely humbled by the genuine passion of everyone you interact with at Aldi. Everyone cares about this business a lot and wants it to succeed. They want to be the best, and I've never really worked in an industry that's like that before.
Okay, great. Well, I hope you all got a good chance to have a little bit of an insight to what the area manager role is like from that video. But obviously, Jake and I are here to just kind of give a bit more brief introduction of our experiences at Aldi and obviously answer any questions you've got at the end. In terms of myself, so I came to Aldi straight out of university. I went to university in Leeds, where I studied history and politics. So even people without relevant business kind of qualifications can go into Aldi. I think it's really clear from the clips, but also from my experiences, that they choose personalities and people over qualifications you've had previously. So don't panic if you're on this call and you're not doing a business degree. I'm proof that you can still do well at Aldi, even if that is the case. Before joining as an area manager, as I said earlier, I was a placement student. So in my third year of university, between my second and third year, I worked in the Cardiff region and started off running stores in central Cardiff before doing some great opportunities in different parts of the business afterwards. And then obviously when I finished university, I came back in a different region, the Swindon region, and I've been there ever since. In terms of work experience previously, I'd done sort of hospitality work on the side and tried to earn some money throughout both my A-levels and also my university degree. But in terms of professional experience, Aldi is my first job. It's been a great first experience in the professional world. In terms of what attracted me to Aldi in the first place, I actually went to an interview for another company before Aldi, and I was turned away for being too confident and talking too much. I remember then speaking to a couple of friends of mine, and they said, "Well, that's strange. Aldi are looking for people just like you," and eventually applied for the role and was fortunate enough to get it. So I think the ability the fact that it played to my strengths and what I was looking for in terms of sort of really hands-on experience, people that aren't afraid to put themselves forward for opportunities and throw themselves in, was something I was looking for, and Aldi's values and I match quite nicely. In terms of what I'm enjoying about the job, I think, as the guy said earlier, no 2 days are the same. I definitely don't wake up thinking I'm going to just do the same as I did yesterday. Every day is a new challenge and has new opportunities for you to have your spin on things. As an area manager, when you're running your own stores, you have very little involvement from your director or other people in terms of day-to-day management. That's very much your decision. So you have free reign on how you manage your people in your stores. That involves recruitment, management processes, new things to try and improve the customer experience, but also how you could develop and upskill your teams. So that ability to put your spin on things and make the stores your own is the thing I love about it the most. And in terms of my responsibilities, I've been really fortunate at Aldi to have lots of different responsibilities during my 3.5 years as an area manager. So obviously the first year is spent training, as knowing how to do the job. But since that, I've ran an area, which I've currently got for 2 years. I've also had a project role where I opened all the new stores for the Swindon region and developed the existing estate. So I opened 9 stores in 11 weeks, which was a very exciting period of time, but stressful at the same time. and as well as running some other regional roles, such as being the workday lead. I was the people development lead for the region, and I've also, in the last sort of 3 or 4 months now, been asked to be on the mentor team, where I now look after our new area manager joining the team to make sure they get through the process successfully. So I've been really lucky to have loads of great opportunities because of the effort that you put in. They really do reward you with that. And I think the girls mentioned earlier that there's further opportunities afterwards, such as international secondments. Aldi have also now asked me to go to Australia next year for a 2-year secondment. So just shows that if you choose the right role and you put your effort in, Aldi will definitely give back, depending on whatever you put in. So hopefully that's a helpful insight into my experiences. And I'll now pass you on to Jake.
Thank you, Harry. I'll kind of through with you guys my experiences there. Where did I start? At Oxford University, international business and management there. So from a more focused degree background. But I thought Aldi was a really good place to go, place to be. I didn't have any particular work experience before. First professional job, only worked 2 weeks in an office, basically doing really paperwork. So actually worked properly, and I think I can only say positive things about it. What I was and like today, I think doing a degree, very aware of what I was, did, and I dropped out.
Sorry to interrupt you there. I think your signal's playing out. There's a couple of comments saying they can't hear you very clearly. Have you got? Okay.
Hold on. Let me see.
All right, trying to make sure people can hear what you're saying. That's all. Okay, it looks like Jake has got a few technical problems at the moment, so we'll wait for him to pop back on, and we can always come back to Jake's slides. But maybe what we'll do in the meantime is we'll just have a look at what was going to happen. Oh, hang on.
Is that any better?
Much better. Yeah, fantastic.
Perfect. Sorry, everyone. So what I was kind of saying was just what attracted me to Aldi originally was just being very aware of the program. I'd attended events like this myself, and I think what the video touched on, just that level of responsibility that you get at such a young age. I never thought, I'm now 25, but when I first joined the business as an IP, I was only 22 years old, running a store that was taking £400,000 a week, which as a 22-year-old is quite a scary feat. But being able to accomplish that and do that successfully really works wonders kind of for your own development, both personally and professionally. And I think the area manager program does that extremely well in Aldi. Having had friends who work in other companies like Deloitte, big other firms, they don't get that same level of responsibility so early. So it's really a pleasure to be able to step up and do that so early in your career, and lays a really great foundation. What I enjoy about the area manager program is somewhat the flexibility that the role provides. As Harry said, no 2 days are the same, but you get a lot of flexibility in where I want to go, what I want to do. I kind of choose my own schedule. If I want to come in at 8 a.m. in the morning and do some work early and go home by 4 because I want to go to a gym class, I can. If I have an appointment in the morning and I come in at 10 and I stay until 6:30, 7, 8 p.m., it's all up to me. As long as I want to work and see my stores, no one's really on my back. Obviously, you don't have to take weekends off. We work in the weekdays. So that might sound a bit scary, but also it's actually really good because I can go take a Thursday off and get my hair cut, go to the dentist, do all that kind of stuff that really on the weekend is an absolute pain to do. So really it is really beneficial for my work-life balance, and I find that I get a lot more done in my days off than necessarily having. And obviously we still can take some weekends off. So if I've got a party or some friends I need to go and see, it means that I can plan my life around that a lot better. Some of my main responsibilities are I'm a little bit earlier in my career than Harry, so I've not done quite as much as he has, but I've looked after my area now for the last year. I actually opened a store in my area, so I opened a brand new store, the biggest store in the UK in terms of square footage, so that was really exciting and something that I got to do after only being with the business for 18 months. So being trusted with that responsibility and having that open successfully was really, really encouraging, and really exciting that I was able to, again, do that so early in my career and so early in my job role. There's not a lot of people kind of my age and in my friend group that can say that they've achieved something or accomplished such a substantial kind of goal in such a short time with the business.
Great, thanks, Jake. So, what does the future look like for you? If you once you secure your position with Aldi, you have obviously a 12-month training year where you will spend time in a couple of different stores, generally in your mentors area, where you will learn the ropes and make sure you understand what it looks like to be an area manager. You're then a fully fledged area manager, a complete control of your area, and most of the time you'll spend visiting your stores and driving your teams to success, which is what Jake and I try to do on a day-to-day basis. After you've completed that, you could take your area manager knowledge into a logistics role. So each region has what we call a logistics area manager, who's responsible for looking after the relationship between the logistics department and operations. So a great chance to broaden knowledge in a different part of the business. You may be interested in exploring the inner workings of Aldi and be keen to take on projects in different areas. So we have what we call an Evolve manager currently, who rolls out all the different changes we bring into the business. But that also could be different roles in other parts of the business, such as buying or a head office role as well, which I'm sure the girls will go on to talk about a little bit later on. And as I alluded to earlier, if you're really lucky, like I am, then there's a great opportunity to go and work in either other parts of the UK, Ireland, Europe, or potentially even further overseas, such as the UK, such as the US and Australia. So Aldi really is a place full of opportunities, and it's a good opportunity for you to join the business if you're not fortunate enough to do so. In terms of the structure of the business, we have quite a flat management structure at Aldi, but we do run our business slightly differently to maybe some other retailers. So we essentially have 13 regions across the UK and Ireland where we recruit area managers. So if you are successful and you are hired as an area manager within Aldi, you will fall into one of those 13 different regions. So Jake and I both report into the Swindon region, which covers kind of parts of Worcestershire, Northampton, down towards Reading, across the south coast, Isle of Wight, across to Weymouth, and then back up through Wiltshire and Hampshire. But there are 12 other regions that stretch all across the UK where you could fall into. Each region has its own regional office where our director team and managing director sit, as well as all the assistants for those different departments. And obviously we have the main head office in Atherstone. As an area manager, you will report into store operations director for all things relating to your own stores and people within them. So whilst we have full autonomy on how the stores run, we are still accountable to making sure we achieve good results, but also develop our people. And it's our store operations directors that hold us to account on that. You will be the main link between your stores and the logistics teams based within the regional distribution centre. So obviously if there's any issues or if there's any things you need to let them know about, obviously that's our job to do that. And as you'll see on screen, our national head office is based in Atherstone, where our national departments are located. Jess will now talk through some of the amazing graduate opportunities available at our head office as well.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Harry. So yeah, like Harry just said there, if working in store operations isn't for you, and it definitely isn't for everyone. It probably wouldn't be for myself in particular, but head office might be suited to yourselves. Now, our head office is based within the Midlands, and it's a fast-paced, really dynamic, open plan environment where over 1,400 colleagues are based. Now, everything that happens here drives the stores and logistics side of the business. The business really does depend on, the actions and decisions that we do make in our head office. So it's a place where you're trusted to, think for yourself and take on, complete ownership of your role as well within there. So Aldi do recruit all year round to join the national departments with opportunities specialising in IT, buying, supply chain and projects, and also HR as well within Bolton. Now, majority of the head office roles are based within our Atherstone office, but like I said, a lot of our HR are based up here where we are in our Bolton office, with our assistant salaries starting from just over £33,000. Sorry, so still a lovely salary to be leaving university going on to. If you are interested in, brushing shoulders with our CEO, Giles Hurley, or our Managing Director of Corporate Buying, Julie Ashfield, who you may well have seen from our series, Aldi's Next Big Thing, we have head office placements available at the moment, so definitely visit our careers page for a little bit more information or email our national recruitment department, and the email for that is national.recruitment@aldi.com. So would definitely have a look at those if that is something of interest to yourself. Okay, so now I'm going to talk you through the application process and some hints and tips for applying. Now, you're more than welcome to absolutely take some notes during this and feel free to ask any questions about the process in the Q&A session at the end of today's session. Okay, so what does the application process look like for the graduate role? First stage then, you're going to be looking at the online application form. So our open questions in the application form will really allow you to tell us everything you know about Aldi and why you want to be an area manager and join our amazing team. We're going to ask you a whole variety of questions about what motivates and inspires you, and you can use examples from absolutely anything in your life, including hobbies, societies, and employment as well. There's lots to get in here, so there's absolutely no need to rush your application form. Please just make sure you read through it and even get someone else to have a little look through it as well, just to double check everything. It's always better for two eyes than one. So we'll go on to the next stage then, which would be the video interview stage. So should you be successful at online application stage, you'd be progressed on to our video interview stage. Now, in this stage, first impressions definitely go a long way. So think about where you want to record your video and how you want to present yourself. Make sure that all your answers relate to the questions that appear on the screen, but definitely try and make sure you say something in this part that we will remember, as we do see a lot of video interviews. So really try and stand out from the crowd in this part. Next stage then would be the online testing stage. So if you are successful at video interview stage, you'll be progressed on to do our online test. So you'll be emailed a link to complete our online psychometrics test, which has been designed to measure your core skills and your personal qualities, as well to see, if we're both right for each other at this stage, really. And then if you are successful online testing, you'll be progressed to the group assessment stage. Now, we're currently holding virtual group assessments, so it might not be face-to-face, but it's still really, really important to prepare for these group assessments. Think about how you want to present yourself and how you want to engage with your assessor as well. Make sure to get your knowledge of the company across, but give other candidates that opportunity to showcase their skills as well, as that's really important. At this stage, we're looking for leaders, but you also really do need to be able to work well with a variety of different people in a team, if you're successful, of course. So really show us that you can do this in that group assessment stage. And then finally, if you are successful at group assessment, you will be progressed to the final stage of the recruitment process, which is that final interview with the managing director. Now, these are the people that you really need to impress, are our managing directors. Now, in this final interview, they're going to focus on three key areas. So firstly, it'll be yourself. So focus on all elements of your life, not just work. Really allow them to get to know you as a person as well in this final interview. And then the second key area is, being able to talk about Aldi. So definitely do your research. It's so important for the managing directors to see that you've done your research on Aldi and you know what you're talking about, as that is what they're going to be looking for. They really want to see, your drive and passion for the business. And then the third point really would be, they're looking for you to be able to demonstrate certain competencies that we look for across all of our roles at Aldi. So these are things like leadership and things like teamwork as well. Okay, so we're going to move on then to some hints and tips then for the application process. Now, a few things then that we're looking for. Firstly, personality. Now, like I said before, first impressions definitely do go a long way with these interviews. So really, really have that at the forefront of your mind. We definitely receive lots of applications to our programs each year. So you're going to need to be able to stand out from the crowd and really show us what you know about Aldi and let your personality shine through. In terms of, your application and your presentations, I'd definitely be proofreading and practicing. So check your work. There's absolutely no time limit on the online application. So really ensure you take your time to think of the best answers possible and get family or friends to proofread your application, as this part is definitely, it's your first impression to the business. So you want to make it a good one. And then in terms of the video interview, there's an opportunity to practice this as well before you submit the real thing. So ensure that you're using this as well to make sure you're fully prepared to do the real thing. In terms of leadership and teamwork, now to be successful during your role, you're going to be able to you need to be able to lead and work well within teams. So our Aldi stores are successful due to the excellent teamwork that we encourage, as well as the high standards that we do set. So ahead of your application, think of strong examples which you feel can demonstrate this, and be structured with your answers as well, as that's really important. One huge thing that I always encourage any candidates to use when they get to that final interview stage in particular would be the STAR framework. I don't know whether Harry or Jake would agree with me on that, but it's something that we always see really helps candidates when they get to those final stages. So I would really encourage that as well. And then in terms of research, like I said before, really brush up on that research. So I'd be recommending you to visit some Aldi stores, making sure that you do your research on sort of the business model. Now, our website is definitely a great starting point. We've got lots of information on there for you to read and some videos for you to watch as well. We've also got the digital graduate brochure, and would suggest reading these in detail to understand what will be expected of you, within your role as well. The Grocer is also a really good publication to read. There's lots of articles about Aldi, but also on our competitors in the wider retail market as well. So a really good one to brush up on sort of analytical skills and with Aldi as well. So I'd also be taking note of any questions you might have whilst doing your research, as there is the opportunity to ask these if you are successful at the assessment centre and final interview as well. So if you've got any questions at all about Aldi, really bring these to your assessments, as it'll make you stand out as well. Now, to be a successful area manager as well, you'll also need to be able to move on quickly from setbacks and be adaptable to change in a fast-paced environment. So resilience is really key within that area manager role. So I'd be thinking of examples which you do feel can demonstrate this as well. And then the final thing is being punctual. So be punctual and dress formally if you are successful in attending an assessment or a final interview. If your assessment is virtual, we would recommend checking your camera, audio and Wi-Fi prior to attending, as we know what technology can be like sometimes. So always better to double check, join the group early and make sure everything is fully working. Now, final interviews are taking place in person more often than not at the moment. So if you are successful, check the location to plan your journey and do your practice journey if you can as well. Fab. So we're going to move on then to talk a little bit more about the group assessment structure and what it is that we're looking for within that group assessment as well. Okay. So within the group assessment, we'll start the group assessment with, a brief presentation about Aldi. We're going to then do some introductions before we get into the activities. So that's an opportunity to kind of meet the rest of the candidates in the group and get to know your assessor a little bit more as well. That stage hopefully eases any nerves that you do have coming into the assessment, as it can be a little bit intimidating sometimes. So we do those introductions to sort of ease those as well. Once we've completed introductions, we'll then move on to that first activity, which is the Aldi store walk presentation. So you will be asked to go away and research an Aldi store. So that is something that you'll be involved with, and you'll be presenting back to the group within that. After that, we'll then take a short break in which you can forget about us for 10 minutes, but only 10 minutes for now, and put that first half of the assessment completely to one side. And then the second half of the assessment is an individual task that will then lead into a group discussion. So it does sound very vague, but obviously if you do make it to that stage, your assessor will go into much more detail in regards to what the task is all about. Now, once the activity is completed, the assessor will then provide some information about next steps in the process, and there is some time, like I said before, to ask any questions about the role, the recruitment process, or Aldi in general, if this obviously hasn't already been covered by your assessment.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for that, Jess. So I guess just keen to touch on our role as Aldi assessors now, I guess, while we come into the process. So as assessors, we have a lot of responsibilities throughout the assessment to, ensure actually that you have a really positive, inclusive and fair experience as well. So in terms of, I guess, our process, so we assess each of you really individually, not just as a group. So we do this by assessing you against some of our core competencies that we look for here at Aldi. We do take notes on you, and you'll probably see us doing this throughout the group assessment and throughout your interview process. but what we write is purely factual. Okay, so it's our role, as I mentioned, to ensure that everyone is fairly treated throughout the process, to ensure consistency and to create a really inclusive environment as well. So reasonable adjustments will be discussed with candidates if they have requested any, and we'll always use our discretion as well on that. And finally, look, I guess with myself and Jess and the rest of the recruitment team, we're not here to trip you up or to catch you out. We want you to be successful. We want you to enjoy the experience and do the best that you possibly can. So, try really to put your nerves to one side, I guess, is our advice. It's our job to make you feel as comfortable and as at ease as you possibly can throughout the assessment. Okay. So I guess I'll touch on what we're looking for at this stage. So you'll see on screen, these are a few of the characteristics that Aldi assessors believe are important to display during the group assessment. So to summarise some of these, it is all about how you, I guess, first of all, have a genuine interest and enthusiasm for our business and a career opportunity with us, to really showcase your passion for Aldi. You're able to identify key information within tasks, so you're able to follow instruction really well, and show us you have those key leadership skills and qualities, that you can take control, that you can give direction in situations when necessary, but without overpowering others at the same time. You want to see that actually you can listen and that you can understand others' thoughts, you can take their opinions on board, but also, you are that leader and you are able to drive the group forwards towards kind of a conclusion. You want to see that, that you're that real team player, you can work with others and ensure essentially everyone on that group assessment does get the say. And lastly, I guess it is around that confident communication, really being able to present yourself confidently, clearly and professionally throughout the entire process as well. So yeah, I think that pretty much summarises everything that we wanted to talk to you about today. So just like to first of all say on behalf of myself, Jess, Harry and Jake, a massive thank you for joining our webinar today. We hope it's given you a really good insight into our graduate programs here at Aldi. So we'd also like to thank TargetJobs as well, who've worked together with us to deliver this presentation. Now, as you'll see displayed on your screen, there is a QR code there. Now that, if you scan it, will take you directly to our graduate brochure on our website, which will give you all the information about everything that we've discussed today. And you'll also be able to navigate towards the links to apply for the roles on there as well. So yeah, massive thank you, as I said again. And as I mentioned at kind of the start of the presentation, we now just want to open up the floor to you guys to see if you have got any questions for us in relation to, being a life and area manager, the process, anything at all Aldi related. Please do feel free to post them in the chat box. So yeah.
Would it be easy to go through some of the questions that have already been asked through the presentation, guys, if I read a couple of them out?
Yeah, absolutely. That might be easier, Harry.
Yeah, they're mainly based in kind of the recruitment side of things at the moment. So been a couple of people here asking about international students and sponsoring visas. Can you give some information on that?
Yeah, so unfortunately at the moment, Aldi doesn't sponsor visas and we wouldn't be able to sponsor international students at the moment. So that isn't something we can accommodate, unfortunately.
Okay, thanks. Is there a limit on how long ago you graduated? Some graduated in 2019 and masters in 2020, been working in other roles since then.
Absolutely not. It doesn't really matter. I know it is called a graduate role, so we do get that a lot in terms of people thinking you have to be an absolute fresh graduate. Yeah. But no, it doesn't really matter. For yourself, graduating in 2019, doing masters 2020, that'd be absolutely fine to apply to us.
Great. Yeah, speaking from experience, we've got quite a few career changes in our region. People who've been teachers before, worked in the civil service. We've got a doctor who moved over to work for Aldi. So yeah, there's no real kind of, as long as you've got a degree, then from at least what I've seen, you're absolutely fine. Some people are asking about masters and things like that as well. But again, as long as you've done a degree, I'm assuming masters is only going to help further your application as well. And then a couple of questions around driving licenses. If they don't have a driving license currently, are they able to still apply but potentially get one during the process?
So you'd need the driving license before your start date, basically. So if you've not got one at the moment, but you are in the process of getting one, or you're doing your lessons and you've got your test book, for example, and you might be looking to pass sort of soon, then absolutely fine. But you would need to be able to drive sort of by your start date. So that's on you, really.
Great. Okay. In terms of a timeline for the application process, how long can someone expect from sort of submitting their application to potentially sitting down at a final interview with the managing director?
Yeah. So it's different with every region, I have to say, in terms of when we get those final interviews. Sometimes it can take a few weeks depending on sort of managing director availability, but from our side and from the bits that we have control of, application form and video interview, we normally try and we're on top of them every day. So you should be through those two processes within a couple of weeks. We'd say maybe 2 to 3 weeks. You should have got through both those stages. Then the online testing stage is done externally by one of our providers. So we don't have control, so to speak, over that, but you normally get about 5 days to complete your online test. So that's sort of the window for that. And then once you've completed that, they send you back over to us. If you pass your online test, that's when we'll book you straight onto a group assessment. And then that's normally within a week or two when you'll be on a group assessment with us. Then once you pass your group assessment, hopefully, that's then, again, maybe 1 or 2 weeks once we try and get you booked on for that final interview. But that is the stage where sometimes it can be a little bit longer dependent on managing director availability. So all in all, we would say maybe a month or two, depending on sort of managing director availability and things like that. I think Harry has just dropped off there as well.
Oh, fantastic. I'll just open up the chat and see if there are any more questions. Oh, he's back. There we go.
He's back with us.
Apologies, made a brief exit there. Yeah, there's another question here asking, what would you suggest for the video interview recording to stand out?
Yeah, I think in the video interview stage, that's your first opportunity where we get to see you, off your application form. So that's really a part where you can get your personality across to us, tell us some interesting, the lights have just gone off on us, but tell us some interesting facts about yourself, that obviously answer the questions that are coming up on the screen, but try and use some exciting examples of maybe work experience, personal experiences, but really get your personality across in that section, and show us who you are as a person, as that's what we want to see. And that is what will make you stand out. If you come across charismatic, if you come across engaging, they are the things that we're looking for in video interview stages, definitely.
Great. And then I think one of the last questions to do with sort of the application process, in one store related one, is in regard to the store presentation, is it beneficial to compare multiple stores or focus only on the one store?
We do see some, candidates coming through who have been to, multiple stores. I wouldn't say it gives you a particular advantage, but it might just give you a little bit more insight into different stores and how different stores might operate. Some have, for example, the self-scan checkouts, some don't. So going to a few might give you a few different insights. So completely down to yourself. I wouldn't say it gives you a particular advantage, but it might do in terms of personal knowledge and things like that. So yeah, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I think speaking from experience in that as well, I think it's really important that it's more about what you say, not necessarily about kind of worrying too much about trying to include everything. At Aldi, we try and get to the point quite quickly, and it's less can be more at some stages. So I think really focus on the key things that we try and focus on as a business by reading up on us online and before visiting the stores would probably be a really good way to prepare for those kind of the part of the assessment.
Definitely.
One of the things I did for that was actually I spoke to one of the managers in the store. So if you look for the guys with the shirts on rather than the polos, or just ask anyone in the store if a manager's around, I actually had a really good chat with the store manager of the store that I was local to, and that store manager has actually now progressed to be an area manager, and I work with them. So it was lovely to be able to talk to them beforehand, and I got a lot of insight how that store was run that I wouldn't have necessarily known unless I'd stopped and had a 5 or 10 minute conversation. And that definitely kind of gave me a little bit more ammunition and a bit more knowledge that I could take into my group assessment. So, and just makes it a little bit more confident that you know what you're talking about.
Right. Jake, we can both answer this question, but the question around kind of our job was, what's the typical work day of the area manager? That's quite a hard question to answer, but give us your best shot.
Yeah, well, it definitely varies between area manager. It kind of varies what your priorities are, what your area is. But on a more typical note, if I was to take a standard kind of cookie cutter approach, for me, it's normally kind of I'll wake up around 6:30 in the morning, get ready to go to work. Normally in store between 8 to 8:30. That's my first store of the day. If it's a Monday morning, I'll sit down with the store manager, check what's going on. I'll walk the shop floor with them, just make sure that we're really happy with the standards, with whatever's happened on the weekend, and what's kind of upcoming the next week. I'll kind of stay in that store for between 4, maybe 5 hours. And then in the afternoon, I'll go ahead and I'll drive to my second store of the day. So on average, I'll probably visit 2 stores a day. And then I'll kind of have that same conversation in the second store, just talking, sitting down with the managers, really making sure that the store is prepared for the week. If I'm not doing that, like I might have a regional meeting. So every so often we go up to the head office. We might have a regional meeting with all the area managers, or I might have a store manager meeting where I sit down with all of my store managers. We do other stuff in the day-to-day week, like checking in kind of some unannounced visits. So I might go to a store that I've already been to that week just to make sure they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing, and might come in some nights after 6 p.m. just because I want to check that that store, again, in the evening it's saying what we agreed. And sometimes the only way to check that stuff is being there. But a typical day for me kind of would look like 8:30 in the morning to about 5:30 in the afternoon. So fairly standard working, with the odd occasional kind of difference there where obviously our contract is 45 hours a week, but it is also the amount of hours we need to do to achieve the job. So sometimes that means a slightly longer day, but sometimes that also means a slightly shorter day. So it kind of ebbs and flows depending on what's going on in your area in that specific store. If it's Christmas, for example, we might work more, but if it's the middle of summer when it's a really quiet week, we might work a bit less.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think we've already alluded to the fact that no 2 days are the same, but Jake and I have different areas, different parts of the region. So what's a priority in my area may not be one in Jake. So it's very much an individual effort. We also do things like interviews. So Jake and I will hire both store assistants and deputy managers in our stores. So we spend a lot of time making sure we're bringing in the right people to our business. We're also really influential in getting our current members of staff through the progression process onto our assistant manager and store manager positions. And so we can spend a lot of our time developing and training and coaching our staff as well. And yeah, like we've kind of touched on earlier, the great part about this job and the reason why it's really hard to answer this question clearly is that you can make the day whatever you want it to be, by focusing on different stores, different topics, different areas, and really making it as interesting for yourself as you like. And that's the best part about the job, I would say. We've got another question here. In terms of the different regions, would we be able to register interest for certain ones, or would that be a random process? Guys, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So in terms of regions, when you initially apply, so when you initially submit your application form, you'll be asked for your first preferred region and then your secondary preferred region. So you will always kind of go with them through the process. So once you reached obviously final interview, you'd go to your first region, more likely than not, for your final stage interview. If there was any situation if you reach final interview and I don't know, the region was switched off for recruitment and they didn't have any more requirements, that's then when the secondary region comes into things. We'd have a discussion with you in terms of, would you like to consider your second region? If not, you'd then go into our talent pool, but more often than not, we would go with your preferred region. But that is something that you do have control over. But within the regions, obviously, they are quite large. Harry and Jake can probably vouch for me on that, and they might have a little bit more insight. But when you do apply for whatever region it would be, you would have to be sort of open to travel all over that region in essence. So that is something as well when applying that you probably should bear in mind. But I don't know whether Harry or Jake, you've got any more insight on that.
Yeah, I think it's a really important point. When you join a region, you have to be flexible in terms of where you work in that region. So as I alluded to earlier, our region spans from the most northern store being kind of like Studley, Evesham, which is kind of just south of Birmingham, all the way down to Jake has stores in the Isle of Wight. Jake doesn't live on the Isle of Wight, obviously, and that just gives you an understanding that he's had to move part of where he would live normally to go and run those stores. As you get more experienced and more kind of capable in the role, you have a bit more say over in terms of where you live and where you would move to. But it's really important that before you apply, and particularly before you select the region you want to move to, you're aware that you could be put anywhere within that region. So the best example I can give you of that is the Cardiff region. Cardiff is one of our newer regions, but spans all the way from West Wales through to Cardiff, down to Bristol, and all the way down to Cornwall and Newquay. So if you apply because you live in Cardiff, you could potentially be put down in Cornwall. So just being open and aware of that is really important. But that also gives you some great opportunity to go and see new parts of the country, get some new life experience. I had to move to a different part of the region I'm in when I initially joined the region, and loved it. I was in Southampton by the sea, but it's not a place I would have thought myself living before that, but definitely something to sort of factor into your application before you apply to Aldi. Jacob, would you concur with that, or any different thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think as Harry touched on, it's really having an open mindset to it. Like, if you're really fixed that you have to live in one place and that you have no flexibility, being very honest, the area manager role might not be that number one position for you. As Harry alluded to, I took the Isle of Wight, and I never would have thought that I would be working on the Isle of Wight in a million years if he spoke to me when I was at university. However, I moved down to Basingstoke. It's about a 40-minute drive for the ferry. In the summer, it's absolutely lovely. I can have an ice cream on the ferry while I'm on my way home from work. Not many people can say that. But if I wasn't willing to kind of do that, I wouldn't be in the position I am. And because I was willing to make that move, I've had lots of really great opportunity. I work with some amazing people, some fantastic teams. And now, honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world. And as Harry said, in the future, if I do want to relocate, there is option and opportunity for that. But if you're really fixed mindset and you say, no, I want to work in this really one location, there will be no guarantees of that. But as long as you're flexible, we do have preferences. Like, you could say, preferably I live over here. I'd like to be over there. But when an area becomes available, it's not often, can be quite quick. If you're ready to take an area and somewhere becomes available because someone's progressed or someone's gone on secondment or someone's moved, whatever, obviously an area manager will need to fill that role. And if you are the next area manager in line, 9 times out of 10, it will fall onto that person to kind of go and step into those shoes and take that area. So I just think it's really important to be aware. And also, when you do apply, please do really look at the map of the regions. Sometimes people get a bit confused and they think that one region's in one store's in one region, it might be in another. Reach out and contact someone maybe in the recruitment or something if you want clarity over where the regions begin and end, just because I have had that before where people thought they were applying to one region because it was in one store or one area, and actually they've ended up applying to a different region than they probably thought they might do.
Jake, there's another question for us here. What did you find the most challenging to learn throughout training?
I think throughout training, everyone having attended university, a lot of the academic side of the job, the day-to-day processes, no one will really struggle with. It's very much you learn how to do X, Y, Z. The biggest kind of point is that leadership side, and that just taking that role quite early on and quite young in your career. You get all of the support and benefit to do that with Aldi, which is fantastic, and you get put in positions that challenge you. However, definitely now I'm 25 and I manage people who are twice my age, who've been in the business for 10 years and I've been in the business for 2 years. Yet they report into me and I'm their direct leader. And it's just kind of taking that step up mentally and also trusting in yourself that you can do that job role, and that we've all been chosen by Aldi for a reason. And that reason is our leadership potential and our personality, and just really being open to feedback around that and just taking it kind of step by step and day by day. And now I'm a lot more confident. I'm a lot more involved in that leadership position. It's a fantastic place to be. But definitely as a fresh graduate, that's probably one of the scariest aspects of the role, is that you are going to be managing people who've done that job for 5, 10, maybe 20 years in some cases, yet you're the one telling them that they need to do this or that. However, I've always approached those conversations very openly, and now I have a great relationship with my teams, and I've never faced any issue or any challenges with it. It's one of those things where I was worried about, but actually it turned out to be a non-issue once you're in the role and doing that job.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the responsibility you get straight away. I think I relish that and I love that, but you are going to make mistakes. When you're given that level of responsibility from an early stage, part of learning how to get yourself better and to develop is trial and error. So I think the important thing through your training period is to stay resolute and believe in yourself when you do make those mistakes and those errors, and to make sure that you learn from those mistakes so you don't make the same ones again. Because generally the things I've learned the most in my job have been from times when things didn't go right versus when things did go right. So those would be the things I'd say, really. If you are successful and you join Aldi, don't be afraid to try something different or do something new, because generally speaking, that helps the stores. That's a good way to get yourself known and to build your reputation. and if it does go wrong, there's always plenty of opportunity to learn from that again and go again. So that's probably the way I'd answer that question. And in terms of sort of any other comments or anything on that, there's been a few questions about kind of UCAS points and requirements for the role. I guess and links to the application. I guess the best way to answer that, guys, would just be signposting people towards the recruitment website where all that information is available. Would you say that's about right?
Yeah, like the requirement for the UCAS points is 96 as a minimum. And if you're not sure on what your UCAS points are, I'd encourage you to go onto the UCAS website. There's a little calculator on there to work out your points. If you're not sure on what your UCAS points are, have a look on there and make sure you've got 96 before applying. But yeah, have a look on the website and just double check all the requirements for the role before applying to us.
Great. And then there's another question about sort of people joining late. Obviously, just a reminder that this is recorded, and if you registered beforehand, will be sent out to you by email. So don't panic if you've missed any of what any of us have said. It'll be available to you after the webinar finishes. So maybe just give that a rewatch if there's anything on there that you didn't get a chance to hear throughout. But at the moment, I think that's all the questions I can see and all the messages in the chat. So unless there's anything else anybody else wants to add, just like to say thanks for joining, and appreciate all of your time. It's been great to answer some of your questions and talk a bit more about Aldi. But if there is anything else, please do reach out to any of us and let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Myself and Jess will make sure we put our email address in the chat just in case you do come off the call and think, oh, I forgot to ask that question, which I know is normally the way. So, our email address is graduate@aldi.co.uk. We'll just pop that into the chat now. So, as I say, any other questions that you have got after the call, do feel free to ping us over an email. Either myself, Jess, or one of our other colleagues will come back to you. And no, as well, thanks for that, Harry and Jake, on behalf of myself and Jess. And thank you very much to everyone for joining today.
Thanks all.
Thanks
so much.
Thank you, everyone. Best luck in your application.